Go.
This is Jeremy Zwinger with the Rice Trader, just doing a summary for the August 20th TRT. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about the market and just give a direction of where things are going from. So with that, let's get to the market. The biggest piece of news probably was Iraq. Iraq was very interesting this week and went pretty much as we expected. It went to ADM the way it looks, with a price of about $6.55 a CIF free out. The U.S. market's dropped on this significantly for educations. As we've been saying, the market is much softer, and these prices indicate this for new crop, with quotes being as much as $5.30 to $5.50 right now for U.S. crop on this Iraqi tender. Also, Uruguay had a price of $5.68 CIF free out, so obviously much cheaper, and in fact almost $100 a ton cheaper for better quality Uruguayan rice. So obviously there's some politics going on in the Iraqi trade. They'll probably move back to being some Asian rice, but as we predicted, this didn't happen this week. So with that, let's just kind of go into the U.S. to start with that. The U.S. is very interesting with all the talks of politics and NAFTA and tariffication throughout the world. It is going to be a very interesting time. There has been obviously a heat up in Turkey and Europe with increased tariffs and restrictions on U.S. rice specifically. This adds to our special article in Section 10 on Mexico. The Mexican exports this year have dropped market share down to 32% off from 100%, so it's only 68% U.S. It just shows the massive change happening in the U.S.'s core markets. There's also a 33% reduction in Central America, as we were mentioning. There's just a lot of Asian and Uruguayan and Argentinian rice coming up to the region, and it's just a price/quality concern. It's what we expected, but the numbers are definitely starting to show it. In addition to that, of course, the continued trade war with China is going on. This is affecting much of the globe and concerning a lot of players. There is talks, just like there's talks of NAFTA having a final agreement, which of course people are saying should happen in early September. But it's a very tight window if it's going to be signed with the current Mexican president, because it's a 90-day waiting period. But back to China, it really is heating up. There's increased clear ideas that there is going to be restrictions. How long those restrictions are going to last, it's a very key issue right now. So also just kind of the U.S., this was the first week for the certified acres, and it definitely indicated the key things we've been saying. U.S. acres are massively up, based on the first report, with the final report coming many months later in January. But it's a good indication. The good indication was that acres were up 24% in the year. That's very significant for long grain. Up about 16% with early data coming from California already. So medium grain's highly up, long grain's highly up. So the total U.S. crop is going to be up a good 23-24% in the year, which has added to this huge price differential. So on that, let's just look at the prices. This week, and starting with the U.S., we call the U.S. down to $5.35 on the Iraqi indications and lower prices we're seeing. Obviously, that's just a huge premium to a tie price at $5.90 for 5%, or lower, maybe $5.80 for a 5%. The market is very soft right now, and you can see it in the Asian origins. That's basically at parity to Viet. Viet is called up slightly up this week on movements of shipments, especially stuff going to the Philippines on regular trade. Pakistan's at basic parity as well, but it's called down $5 a ton this week to $3.95. India's called off to $3.90 in complete parity to Thai at $3.90 as well. So prices are looking weaker, obviously. We are having issues with demand in Africa. China continues to export in both the long and medium grain markets, the Indica and Japonica markets. And so it's a very interesting year. We do remain above last year if you look at the 5 major traders. Slightly above though, not the 5-6% we saw earlier in the year. It's just about 5% or 0.5%. You could actually go, if the slowing of trade continues, you actually go to a discount to last year, and then we're playing catch up if we're going to make record trade. So in addition to that, what are we else seeing in the market? There is a lot of activity going on in the Philippines. There is being a move to go to tariffication, which would allow more open imports. We have to watch this close. It's obviously very political. Obviously, the president of the Philippines also talked about resigning due to being tired this week. It's a very political time, and one has to watch this. Will this occur? I think at some point the Philippines will be much more open and such, and one just has to watch it closely. Outside of that, it just is a slower demand period. Much the same things we've been saying. It's going to probably get interesting here as these high supplies combine to just a weak political environment. So it's very close in many ways to what we've been indicating in our report. We do have a special report, like we've mentioned, on Mexico, and it's the monthly update on the U.S. with the new data, including the acreage data and the demand data. So there's a lot of interesting pieces in the actual report and ones to look at. So with that, I just want to remind you of the October 10th to 12th, 10th anniversary TRT World Conference. We want to invite you all to, and please continue to register early just so we can plan to the best of our abilities. And with that, I'm going to sign out. I hope you have a nice weekend and just a blessing to you as we move forward in this rice market.